The Battle of Manzikert, 26 August 1071. By the middle of the 11th century, the balance of power in the east was changing. The Eastern Roman Empire still controlled most of Anatolia, while the great Seljuk Empire had expanded across Iran and Iraq. Between them lie a wide and unstoppable frontier of cities, mountain passes, local rulers, and raiding routes. From the eastern edge of this map, Seljuk power was moving steadily westward. Turkoman horsemen entered Armenia and eastern Anatolia in search of pasture, plunder, and new opportunities. They moved quickly, avoided strong fortresses when necessary, and struck deep into Roman territory. These raids did not immediately create a new Turkish state in Anatolia, but they made the Roman frontier harder, more expensive, and more dangerous to defend. The Romans did not simply stand aside. Imperial armies repeatedly marched east, reinforced important cities, and tried to drive the raiders back beyond Euphrates. Theodosiopolis, Manzikert, Ahlat, and the roads around Lake Van became increasingly important. Whoever controlled these routes could move between Anatolia, Armenia, Syria, and northern Mesopotamia. But the Romans faced a difficult enemy. Large imperial army needed roads, supplies, and time. Seljuk and Turkoman cavalry needed far less. They could appear, attack a weak point, and withdraw before the Roman army could catch them. In 1068, the soldier Romanos IV became emperor. He believed that the empire could still restore order in the east. During the next 3 years, he led campaigns against the raiders and tried to rebuild the failed army. His results were mixed, but his aim was clear. The Romans had to recover the initiative before their eastern provinces became impossible to hold. The political map was more complicated than a simple Roman-Seljuk border. The Fatimid Caliphate controlled Egypt and parts of the Levant. The Marwanids ruled around Amid and Ahlat. The Mirdasids held Aleppo. These smaller states could submit, resist, or change alliances according to local conditions. Sultan Alp Arslan was therefore fighting on several fronts. In 1070 and 1071, he moved west and south through Upper Mesopotamia and Syria. He received the submission of local rulers, attacked Edessa, and brought Aleppo under Seljuk authority. His wider objective was the Fatimid Caliphate in Egypt. This is important. Alp Arslan was not waiting near Manzikert for the Roman emperor. His main campaign was moving south, toward Syria and Fatimid territory. At the same time, Romanos prepared the largest expedition of his reign. The imperial army gathered near Constantinople and began its long march across Anatolia. On the map, the route was simple: east from the capital, across the central plateau, toward Sebastia and Theodosiopolis. On the ground, it was much harder. Thousands of men, horses, wagons, and supplies had to move together over hundreds of kilometers. The army included professional Roman soldiers, provincial troops, Armenian and Georgian units, foreign mercenaries, and Turkic auxiliaries. This gave Romanos a powerful force, but not a simple one. Different contingents followed different commanders. They spoke different languages, fought in different ways, and did not all share the same loyalty to the emperor. As the army moved east, Romanos expected to face scattered raiders and local garrisons. He did not expect Alp Arslan himself to appear in front of him. By the summer of 1071, the Roman army reached Theodosiopolis. From there, it turned southeast toward the Lake Van region. Romanos wanted to recover Manzikert and secure Ahlat, two important positions on the eastern frontier. His intelligence suggested that the main Seljuk army was still far to the south. Based on that belief, Romanos made the most important decision of the campaign. He divided his army. A large detachment was sent toward Ahlat under Joseph Tarkaniotis. It included valuable troops and forces connected to the Norman commander Russell de Baloil. Romanos took the main body toward Manzikert. The plan was easy to understand on a map. One force would take Ahlat, the other would take Manzikert, and together they would control the region. But the two Roman forces were now separated. The detachment sent toward Ahlat would not return before the decisive battle. While the Romans were dividing their army, news reached Alp Arslan that Emperor Romanos was advancing east with a major force. The Sultan abandoned his movement toward Fatimid territory and turned north. His army moved rapidly from Syria and Upper Mesopotamia toward the Lake Van region. Now, two armies that had begun the year moving in different directions were converging on the same point. Romanos reached Manzikert and recovered the fortress with little resistance. But around Ahlat, the situation was becoming dangerous. Seljuk forces defeated or drove back Roman troops in the area, while Alp Arslan's main army approached from the south and east. The Romans had expected a campaign against scattered raiders. Instead, they were about to face the Seljuk Sultan himself. In the days before the main battle, Seljuk horse archers began to test the Roman positions. Small groups approached Roman patrols, fired arrows, and withdrew before the heavier troops could reach them. The Romans could see the enemy moving around them, but they struggled to force a decisive fight. Some forward units were attacked. Reports arrived from different directions. The missing detachment near Ahlat still had not returned. Romanos now faced a difficult choice. He could withdraw and abandon the campaign, or he could fight before the Seljuk army became even stronger. On 26 August 1071, he formed his army near Manzikert. The emperor commanded the center. Roman troops formed the left and right wings. A reserve stood behind the main line. Across the field, Alp Arslan spread his mounted archers in a wide arc. The Roman line advanced. The Seljuks fired arrows and pulled back. When the Romans continued forward, the horsemen withdrew again. Whether every movement was part of one perfectly planned feigned retreat is uncertain, but the effect was clear. The Roman army moved farther from its camp. Its formation stretched across the battlefield. The wings and the center became harder to coordinate. Seljuk cavalry continued to attack from a distance, refusing the close combat preferred by the heavier Roman troops. For hours, Romanos gained ground without destroying the Seljuk army. As evening approached, the emperor ordered his troops to turn back toward the camp. This was the most dangerous moment of the battle. A large army cannot reserve direction instantly. Some units understood the order, others believed that a general retreat had begun. The Roman wings lost contact with the center. The rear guard under Andronikos Doukas withdrew instead of moving forward to support the emperor. Alp Arslan saw the opening. The Seljuk cavalry turned and attacked. Horsemen struck the exposed wings, moved through the growing gaps, and closed around the imperial center. Roman units that had advanced together were now fighting separately. Some escaped toward the camp, others broke apart under pressure. The reserve did not restore the line, and the emperor's position became increasingly isolated. Romanos remained with the center. His horse was brought down, he was wounded, and the imperial standard disappeared in the fighting. By nightfall, the emperor of the Eastern Roman Empire had been captured. The defeat was serious, but the Roman army was not completely destroyed. Many soldiers escaped, and the empire controlled cities, armies, and most of Anatolia still. Alp Arslan treated Romanos as a valuable prisoner. The two rulers negotiated, and after a short captivity, the emperor was released. The sultan did not march toward Constantinople. The political map did not change color in a single day, but Romanos was returning to an empire that had already turned against him. His rivals in Constantinople removed him from power. A civil war followed, and Roman commanders began fighting one another for the throne. Some even hired Turkish warriors against their Roman enemies. This political collapse was more damaging than the battlefield defeat itself. Fortresses became isolated, local commanders made their own agreements. Roman resources were used in civil war instead of frontier defense. As Roman authority weakened, Turkoman groups moved farther across the Anatolian plateau. Some served Seljuk princes, others followed independent leaders. They searched for pasture, plunder, land, and political opportunity. Their movement was not a single invasion controlled from one capital. It was a gradual spread of many groups across a collapsing frontier. Within about a decade, Turkish forces were operating close to the Sea of Marmara. New Turkish principalities began to emerge, and the foundations of the Sultanate of Rum were formed in Anatolia. This is why the map should not show all of Anatolia becoming Seljuk territory on the evening of 26 August. The battle opened the way, but the civil war and the following years transformed the peninsula. Manzikert was not the end of the Eastern Roman Empire. The empire survived for almost 4 more centuries, but the battle destroyed Romanos' campaign, removed the emperor who was trying to restore the eastern frontier, and helped unleash the political chaos that followed. Seljuk mobility won the battle. Roman divisions made the defeat possible. Civil war turned that defeat into a long-term disaster. One battle decided the fate of Romanos Diogenes. The years after the battle changed the fate of Anatolia.